Welcome, angels and all. We're up to day 21 of 365 days of podcast. And after 365 snippets of information, we won't know any more than we did at the beginning. What we will have done is remembered more than we had at the beginning. So there is nothing we don't know. And so part of this is about not learning anything, but remembering. So let me go back to about 3 weeks ago, minus 4 days. I explained just a snippet about how the brain works. So the brain doesn't think, and the mind doesn't think. What happens is, let's say there's the mass of information. There's all wisdom is floating around us every moment. It's just there all the time. And so the mind selects a piece of information to learn. So the mind might think, oh, I hate Donald Trump. And so immediately all of the confirmation of that I hate Donald Trump idea will come into the mind. And then the mind will pass that on to the brain, and the brain doesn't do anything but sort. It's like a sorting house. So where we have information about I hate Donald Trump, the mind will sort that in, the brain will sort that into a part of itself that fits. So maybe it's about anger. So there might be a pocket of anger. And so I hate Donald Trump goes into anger. And then all of the information about I hate Donald Trump and proving that that's correct will go into that one box. It might be anger, it might be justification, it could be all sorts of things. And we might then decide to have a thought about a train. So all of the ideas about trains will come into our brain. And if we've had bad experience with the trains, the brain will sort that into some bad thing. It might be pain. We might have fallen off a train. Or it might be maybe we got ripped off in a train. So it might be some sort of abuse box that we've got in our brain. So each time the mind thinks something, the antenna goes out and finds that information in the swirling of all the information, and we'll bring it in, and the brain will sort it. And once it's sorted in the brain, so it might be a happy thought. Maybe you had a lovely train journey one day, and we remember that. So train goes into happiness, and then that goes down our that cortex into our emotion. And so first of all, we find some information. We think train, we think grass, I don't know, we think of something, and the information goes in and it gets sorted into a certain box in our brain. And then whether it's good or bad, or what type of good or bad, happiness, joy, peace, bitterness, anger, whatever, will then go down into the back of our neck, if you like, and the nerves there, and then into our emotional, and then we will have an emotional reaction to it. So the emotion happens down here. So that's basically how everything happens. We always have an emotional reaction to things. And it might feel like there's no emotional reaction sometimes, but that will be probably boredom. Ennui, as some people call it. So we have total recall if we can know how to access that. And we can choose, instead of I hate Donald Trump, we can choose I love him. Or who cares? We might have no reaction. And so there'll be no information stored about Donald Trump because it doesn't matter. And it might be anything. So we'll have certain things that will trigger us. We might have hated asparagus when we were 3 years old. So we'll have asparagus, bad taste, and we'll go, I hate it. So there'll be the emotional reaction to asparagus. And that sits in there until we decide to change the pattern, to change the tune. And we might grow up and say, I'm deciding to like asparagus now. And so we will. So we get to choice. And so so the other thing is that our mind works in a little bit like our nerves. So as above, so below, as they say. So I explained a few days ago about our nervous system, whereby it's not one string of, each nerve is not one string of material, let's say, tissue. It's a whole lot of individual pieces of nerve, and each is wrapped in a myelin sheath. And so the chemical message goes through the physical bit, and then there's a gap, and that turns into electrical, and then that turns into chemical, electrical, blah, blah, blah. So that's how the nerves work. And I explained that 2 or 3 days ago. The mind's very similar in that we have a thought and then there's a gap. We have a thought and then there's a gap. We have a thought and then there's a gap. So we can't exist without mind. If people go into meditation and try and empty their minds, it's not possible for a human being to have a totally empty mind, being mindless. And we talk about the mindfulness and the mindlessness and all that sort of stuff. And the idea is, if we want to access new information or access the greater good, we need to empty our minds of what's already going in. So at the moment, we're worrying about, did I leave the key in the door? Did I leave the stove on? What am I going to do today? What's on my shopping list? What's so-and-so doesn't like me? So we've got all this stuff already going on about work and relationships and jobs, and it's all already happening in this moment. And I'm thinking about this and I'm thinking about that. And I'm seeing, well, the sun's like coming up. That's really lovely. So there's, good and positive. But my minds are already busy, so we've got very long pieces of information, if you like, and very small gaps between them at the moment. So the point of, if you like, meditation, or the point of becoming mindful, is almost the opposite in a way, because we're emptying our mind, but we call it mindfulness, which gives us greater clarity. So the idea is simply that what we're doing is creating larger gaps between each thought. So each thought, some say that we think about 5,000 thoughts a minute. I don't know who counted them. There are a lot. Let's just say there's a lot. And we can change that. We can slow our mind down in a way that we separate. So there's a thought. Then there's a tiny, tiny, minuscule gap, and there's another thought, and there's a gap, and there's another thought, and there's a gap, and there's another thought, there's a gap. So the idea with meditation or mindfulness is to shorten the thought tissue, let's say, and widen the gap. And some people call this the gap, the God gap. So this is where we're able to access new information. If we can still our minds down and just open the gaps a little. So we have a thought and we just be still. We allow ourselves to not think. It's not possible for humans to not think, because thinking is what we do. Take away our thinking, you take away us. We cease to exist. But we can open the gaps, because the gaps are all about the past. What did I do yesterday? So therefore I'm going to do the same today. And all of that sort of stuff. And I hated asparagus when I was 2 or 3. I hate asparagus now. So they're all about the past. Well, if we want to recall the future, because everything is there, there's no future and past in the greater wisdom. If we want to access that which we haven't thought of before, what we're doing in, if you like, practical terms, and I've just got a mosquito, thank you. What we're doing in practical terms is widening the gap between each thought and having them just slowly pull apart. So we have a thought, we acknowledge a thought. Oh, the sun's coming up. No thought. Oh, there's somebody with his dog over there on the beach. Lovely. No thought. So the way the nerves work, tissue gap, is pretty much the same as the way the mind works. And if we can simply allow ourselves not to empty our mind, but to have a gap between thoughts. Just take it slowly, if you like. We're not going to empty the whole bucket, we're going to just take little bits out and separate the gaps between each thought. So just to show you where I am, because it's quite a nice spot, just near my home, the lake, just tidal. It's not really a lake, is it? It's an estuary. And that's a boy sitting there fishing in a houseboat, and there's another chap over there with his dog having fun, and birds tweeting and stuff going on. And in a place like this, it's easier to find those gaps between thoughts, because we can just, if you like, stare at a piece of water or something that's not moving, because there's a lot of stillness here. Well, there's very little movement, and we can, if you like, emulate that in our mind. Allow a thought to go through. We can't stop them. They're going to keep going. The ego just doesn't shut up. So a thought will go through. Oh, the water's nice. And then allow a gap. Oh, there's a man with his dog. Allow a gap. Oh, there's some trees. Allow a gap. And we can just practice that, being aware of the thought and then the gap. We can't stop the thought. Oh, my mother's being annoying today. Gap. Oh, my mother's still being annoying today. Gap. Whatever the thought is. There goes another seagull. Gap. So if we can be present to the gaps between each thought, that opens our mind to that which we have yet to access. And it might be our future. It might be, what should I do with my life? What should I do today? What should I get for groceries? And we can access universal wisdom by simply being present to the gaps between each thought. And so I wish you a gap day, a gap year. I wish you a gap day, and peace and much wisdom.